But we begin tonight with these 5 words from the prosecution in Donald Trump's hush money election interference trial. Your Honor, the people rest. After 15 days and 21 witnesses, the prosecution handed over the reins to the defense, who began making their case this afternoon, beginning with testimony from Robert Costello, a criminal lawyer with ties to Rudy Giuliani. Costello was in talks to represent Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, in 2018, as Cohen faced federal indictment for taking out the very HELOC loan at issue in this case, the one he used to pay off Stormy Daniels for the benefit of the Trump presidential campaign, which the Trump campaign then lied about in their business records. Within 15 minutes of being on the stand, Judge Juan Marchand lost his patience with Costello's repeated audible and visible reactions to the objections to Costello's testimony. And the judge then cleared the courtroom to admonish the witness. If you don't like my ruling, you don't say geez, Marchand said, adding that Costello can't strike anything because the judge is the only person who can strike something. You don't give me side eye and you don't roll your eyes, Marchand said. Costello said he understood, and we'll get to more on the defense's case a little bit later. But first, Michael Cohen wrapped up his 4th day on the witness stand today and his 3rd under cross-examination, which at times was meandering and kind of hard to follow, as Trump's defense attorney, Todd Blanche, focused primarily on Cohen's character, trying to paint him as a liar, a cheat, someone who could not be trusted, who was just out for revenge and to financially benefit himself. As Blanche wrapped his cross-examination, he tried to land a final blow in front of the jury, asking Cohen, "Do you have a financial interest in the outcome of this case?" Cohen responded, "Yes, sir." Blanche then asks, the question of today is whether a conviction benefits you financially, to which prosecutor Susan Hoffinger said, "Asked and answered, Your Honor." Judge Marchand said, "I will allow it. You can answer it." And perhaps to Blanche's surprise was Cohen's response. The answer is no. Blanche asked, "It doesn't?" Cohen added, "It's better if he is not for me, because it gives me more to talk about in the future." Blanche spent much of the day air punching, trying to throw multiple theories against the wall with hopes that one will stick for at least one juror, including that Cohen was too consumed with his own business dealings during October 2016, when the Stormy Daniels payment was made, such that his recollections about his calls and dealings with Trump are especially suspect. There was the theory that Trump's payments to Cohen were just part of a retainer agreement as Trump's lawyer. And there was the claim that non-disclosure agreements like the one Stormy Daniels signed are very common and not illegal. During redirect, prosecutor Susan Hoffinger knocked each of these bowling pins down one by one. Hoffinger, were you too busy in October 2016 to finalize the Stormy Daniels payoff with Mr. Trump? Cohen, no, ma'am. Hoffinger, was the $420,000 payment that you were owed as reimbursement, did that have anything to do with the retainer agreement? Cohen, no, ma'am. On the NDAs, Hoffinger, under the circumstances of this NDA with Stormy Daniels that you testified to, was it perfectly legal under those circumstances? Cohen, no, ma'am. She then made sure to clarify for the jurors. Hoffinger, are you actually on trial here in this case? Cohen, no, ma'am. Hoffinger, are you a witness here? Cohen, yes. And again, it needs to be repeated that despite being the one whose prosecution and congressional testimony gave birth to this case, Michael Cohen is essentially battling cleanup in this case against individual one, meaning the case against Donald Trump doesn't rest on the testimony just of Michael Cohen. Nearly everything Cohen has testified to has already been corroborated by evidence entered into the record by other witnesses, documents, emails, text messages, and audio recordings. It's likely that we'll hear a lot about that evidence again by the prosecution next Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, when Judge Marchand is scheduled closing arguments to begin. Closing arguments could have started later this week, but Marchand ruled this morning that due to the upcoming holiday weekend, he does not want there to be such a large gap between those closing arguments, jury instructions, and the start of deliberations. Joining me now is Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent, Duncan Levin, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and Lachlan Cartwright, former executive editor for the National Enquirer. He's currently a special correspondent for The Hollywood Reporter. Thank you all for being here. Lisa, let me start with you. Characterize what happened in court today for us beyond what I have said just now.
We've given a really good summary, Joy, but I think what happened today can best be characterized as exhaustion and exasperation, because Michael Cohen was on cross-examination for the third consecutive day. And at times, not only did Todd Blanche's cross-examination seem meandering, but it was really repetitive. There were lots of subject matters that were covered again and again. That having been said, there were a couple of surprises and not ones that were favorable to the defense. So I think the other theme of today is that whatever advantage the defense was enjoying on Thursday afternoon when they closed, that dissipated for them today through two different circumstances. One is that their remaining cross-examination of Michael Cohen really didn't land any punches, and in fact, Cohen got to punch back. And the second is that Robert Costello, who is that other witness that they called today, who was sort of trying to function as Michael Cohen's lawyer despite not having ever been hired by Michael Cohen, he himself was a little bit of a disaster on the stand, as you recognized. And the jury, while they didn't see necessarily Judge Merchan chastise Robert Costello, they saw all the audible and visible reactions that Costello had to being stymied in answering questions that the judge didn't want answered. And repeatedly, Costello tried to talk over the sustained objections or said things like, geez, or rolled his eyes and things like that. I've really never seen a witness behave like that in court. And on demeanor alone, Robert Costello gets a big fat F.
Lachlan, I want to go to you on this because, you know, there was a lot of talk leading up to Michael Cohen all over TV of people saying, oh, he's going to be a disaster. This is going to be horrible for the prosecution. He's got this record of criminality as if he was like a bank robber before Donald Trump made him do crimes for him. You know, I mean, the guy's a lawyer. And I said repeatedly on this show, number one, he's an attorney. So he knows how to act in court. He's been in front of a trial jury before, in front of a judge before. Number two, he's a practiced television guest and host. He hosts a freaking podcast. So I assumed he was going to be a solid witness. Make of it what you will. Michael Cohen's ability to just answer the questions, yes, sir, no, sir, be succinct, get it done. And this guy Costello, who seems to be the witness that a lot of people thought Michael Cohen was going to be.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, Joy, when you juxtapose the two of them. Michael Cohen, cool, calm, collected, under pressure over the last 4 days that he has been on the stand. The defense have been continually trying to niggle at him and trying to get a reaction. And he has been, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. He has been incredibly steady in the witness stand. And then we have Bob Costello come on this afternoon. And within the first 15 minutes, the judge has to ask the jury to leave to admonish him for his behavior on the stand. And if I'm the jury looking at the first real defense witness being Bob Costello and how he behaved this afternoon compared to Michael Cohen, that would not have left a good impression on me.
Duncan, welcome to the show. How unusual is it for a witness and a judge to get into it the way that, you know, we're just reading the accounts of it. I'm sure it was quite dramatic in person. How unusual is that? And in this courtroom, how damaging could that be for the defense case?
Well, they've clearly gotten off to a terrible start here. It's very unusual to be slapped down in this way, but this type of behavior by a witness is one that the defense clearly should have gotten under control far before they ever called him to the stand. You remember Todd Blanche got off on the wrong foot with the cross-examination of Michael Cohen, too, having his first question to Michael Cohen be objected to and the objection sustained right off the bat because he was asking personal questions about, didn't you call me this and didn't you call me that? The judge is clearly exhausted and exasperated with this defense at this point in the trial. And so it's just they're off to a bad start. This is a witness who probably did not need to be called. They're calling him to basically try to destroy Michael Cohen, but they could try to destroy Michael Cohen just in their closing argument. They don't need to call Robert Costello. Robert Costello is a witness who Michael Cohen already testified on direct examination that he lied to because Robert Costello was going to talk to Trump about whatever Cohen said. So he's a witness that they really didn't need to call. And to get off on this footing, particularly on their first and maybe their only witness, is just a misstep by the defense that was an unforced error. An
unforced error probably because Trump wanted them to do it, Lisa. I mean, it seems like the defense that seems to be the characterization every day, is that they're waging a defense that probably if they had a more normal client, they wouldn't, right? They're just doing whatever Trump wants and attacking the people he doesn't like and sort of trying to belittle them on the stand.